Okay, in Algebra 2 today, our objective is to solve rational equations. And we have two different types of equations that we're going to solve. Type 1, the steps to solve it are factor, cancel, and then solve. So you factor what you can, you cancel what you can, and then you solve what's left. So problem number 1, 2x squared minus 11x minus 21 all over x minus 7 equals 8. So I factor what I can, and the only thing that can be factored is that top. That 2x squared minus 11x minus 21 is my father drives a red Mustang. So 2 times negative 21 is negative 42. Two numbers that multiply to negative 42 and add up to negative 11 are 3 and negative 14. Then I divide by 2, divide by 2. 3 over 2 stays 3 over 2. Negative 14 over 2, though, is negative 7 over 1. Then when I write my factors, I read it bottom up. 2x plus 3, x minus 7. And I keep that over the other x minus 7 that was already there, equals 8. So that's the factoring step. Then I cancel. And I cancel x minus 7 and x minus 7. Those go away. And what's left is 2x plus 3 and equals 8. And I just solve that like a normal equation. Minus 3 minus 3. 2x equals 5. Divide by 2. And x equals 5 over 2, or 2.5. So you factor what you can, you cancel what you can, and you solve what's left. So let's do another one of those. Number 2, 9x squared minus 64 over 3x plus 8 equals 1. So 9x squared minus 64, that can be factored. 9 and 64, they're both perfect squares, so this is a difference of squares problem. So 9x squared becomes 3x and 3x. 64 becomes plus 8 minus 8 all over 3x plus 8 and equals 1. So that's the factoring. Now I cancel what I can. Cancel, cancel. 3x minus 8 equals 1. Add 8 to both sides. 3x equals 9. Divide by 3, x equals 3. Done. Now type 2 is a little bit harder. Type 1 is personally my favorite because factoring has gotten to be so easy since we've done it so long. And it should be for you as well, because you also have factored for so long. Type 2, and you'll know the difference right away when you see a problem, whether it's a type 1 or whether it's a type 2. For type 2, you multiply everything by the common denominator to get rid of the fractions. So you multiply everything by the common denominator to get rid of the fractions. So problem number 3, 2 over x plus 1/3 equals 5. So first thing we do is find our common denominator. We have an x and a 3. That makes our common denominator be 3x. So common denominator equals 3x. If our denominators were 4 and x, our common denominator would be 4x. If our denominators were 7 and x, it would be 7x. You just multiply them together. Okay? So I'm going to write that 3x next to each one of those chunks. So I'm going to write 3x times 2 over x plus 3x times 1 over 3 equals 3x times 5. So each piece gets multiplied by that 3x. And now what happens is we cancel things. This x on the bottom cancels with this x on top. A top and a bottom cancels. And you're left with 3 times 2, which is 6. In this one, the 3 cancels with the 3. And you're left with x times 1. X times 1 is just x. Over here, nothing was on the bottom, so nothing cancels, so you just multiply that and get 15x. And then we solve this like an equation. To get rid of that plus x, we do minus x. So you get 6 equals 14x. Then you divide by 14, divide by 14. 6 divided by 14 as a decimal goes on and on. So as a fraction, we just simplify it and leave it as 3/7. Okay. Problem number 4. And problem number 4 is different than the other one. Number 4 is x equals 2 over x minus 1. So our first step is find the common denominator. Well, the only denominator we have is x, so it has to be that. So everything gets multiplied by it. X times x equals x times 2 over x minus x times 1. X times x makes x squared. X times 2 over x, those are going to cancel, and you're left with 2. Those just multiply to x. Now that x squared changes everything. So when you have an x squared, you have to do something special. So when you have x squared, you must set everything equal to 0 and factor. What that means is all this stuff on the right has to be moved to the other side. How do I move negative x? Well, the opposite of negative x is positive x. How do I move 2? The opposite of 2 is negative 2. And then that I just write in standard form, x squared plus x minus 2 equals 0. I factor. Two numbers that multiply to negative 2 and add up to 1 are x plus 2, x minus 1. And then I put each of those equal to 0. So x plus 2 equals 0, x minus 1 equals 0. So what plus 2 is 0? Negative 2. What minus 1 is 0? Positive 1. And those are my two answers. Whenever you get an x squared in the problem, you're going to have two answers because you have to factor and set them equal to 0. Your assignment today is a worksheet. If you were absent today, pick it up in class when you come in. It'll be in the absent work folder.